go. I've been at a line school for like almost a year at that point, I think, and I was having a really hard time finding work. Like all the major projects were kind of ramping down at that time. Yeah, it was rough. It wasn't like it is right now.
That's crazy. I don't think enough people like take that chance either. I talk about it quite a bit with like just, you gotta take that opportunity when it arises. I've chatted about this with Ben Holmes quite a bit because he did similar thing, like living in California and just was at a lineman rodeo or something like that and met somebody from Texas that was like, hey, we got an opening in Texas, but you gotta show up on Monday. And this was like literally like Friday. Flies back to California, picks up his drives all the way to Texas, and he's working. But how many people would do that, or how many people would just sleep on that sort of thing? It's crazy.
It's true, right? I remember my college instructor, he was like old Ballard guy. He's always like, yeah, you gotta get off the Chesterfield and get out if you want to go. For me, when I was at a line school and people were like, oh, well, just go sign the book. I was like, that's not a thing in Canada. I'm like, what is this?
There's a couple books and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't work the same way. It's really difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And like I went to such a small school too, like in the middle of nowhere in central Newfoundland. So yeah, I mean, even that was hard. People were like, where was this? Where is this line school you went to? And even then, like I had applied to college in North Atlantic, and the wait list was almost 2 years at the point that I had applied, because there were so many, like Soldiers Pond and all those big projects were going on East. I think a lot of people were applying to, get into Powerline. And yeah, like I couldn't get in. So I ended up going to the smaller school, which I had a really good experience there, honestly. Like I learned a lot, and I'm really glad that I went there. So I worked on a lobster boat back in Nova Scotia, and when the season was done, I was going to do crab fishing in Newfoundland. So I moved to Newfoundland for that. In between that time, I got a construction job. I was kind of just doing like some flagging and some road work, stuff like that. And then they had me flagging for Newfoundland Power a lot. So I was kind of starting to watch the linemen there. Then they sent me out to the Maritime Link to go flag for Rockstad and PowerTel. So I was watching all the guys, flying around and climbing all over the towers. And at this point, I had signed up to, I was going to go be an iron worker. And once I saw that, I was like, screw this, I want to be a lineman. So I went and signed up at the college there, talking to all the guys at Newfoundland Power about it. They were like, yeah, it's a really good trade. You can travel a lot, you can make a lot of money. Like, you're not from here, you probably want to move somewhere else. And it seemed like the right thing for me at the time to do, because I wanted to do something where like I could be physically active, but also kind of mentally stimulated. I was kind of struggling with obviously the strength aspect of stuff, like starting out in transmission at first. And he was like, you just got to do it. And for some reason that just stuck with me the whole time. Anytime I was struggling with anything, I just got to do it. Like, there's no way nobody's going to do it for me. Like, and
that's so awesome. Just the simplest advice. I think I've heard that before. Maybe it's a Makey slogan or something.
Yeah, he actually stole it.
Yeah. Bro just came up with this himself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so dumb, but for some reason that like it stuck with me my entire apprenticeship.
Describe a little bit about what crew dynamics has been like for you, and if there's anything interesting or any advice you like to share.
One of my first foremen here, this is kind of a funny story. I guess he was like kind of notorious for thinking women shouldn't be in the trade kind of thing. He's like an old boy. Yeah. So when I was getting sent to him, everybody was laughing like, oh, like good luck. Like they're like doing this on purpose for sure. I was in the yard one day, my heat shield fell off the bottom of my truck. I was underneath, like just trying to back up, trying to fix it. This guy walks over. He's like, hey, you should get your dad or your man to do that. And he come out from under my truck. I was like, I don't have a dad and I don't have a man, so you can cut here, basically. And everyone starts laughing. They're like, that's your new foreman. Going into work the next day, like, how is this going to go? And after a week of working for him, he's like, oh, like, you kind of changed my mind about women in the trade, honestly. Like, I didn't think it was going to be like this. Like, now he calls me his daughter. Guys in the yard, he's like, get away from my daughter. Like, leave her alone. Like,
what's your advice for people? Just head on into it. Don't take any shit. Like, what's your advice?
Yeah, for sure. Just, it's easy to get kind of like insecure and beat down sometimes by stuff like that. But you just like got to keep reminding yourself of why you started and why you want to be there. And honestly, like man or woman, if you're motivated and you want to learn and you're showing that you want to be there, people are going to give you the time of day. Then that doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl.
What does good leadership look like to you?
Someone who's patient. I think just having someone who's calm. For example, you want to ask a question and you have a patient leader as opposed to someone who's, you ask me that again, like, you know, smack you upside the head. Then you don't want to ask anything. There was a time where something was going on and I got a little nervous about it and I wasn't too sure what the outcome was going to be. And if it was my usual foreman who would have been there, I probably wouldn't have said anything because of the backlash that I thought that was going to come from it. But there was somebody else there, and I remember just saying, hey, do you know, like, what's going to come from this, basically? And he was like, no, it's really good that you said that and you stopped and you asked, because for sure, like, that, you know, could have been bad, and I'm glad that you did. And he, like, came up there and, just for example, right, that takes from a patient person to someone who's super hot-headed, right? Because that could have went the other way. The biggest piece of advice that I could give to someone is, like, just always ask. Don't think that, like, oh, I'm just gonna pretend or try to figure it out. Like, if you're not sure, just ask. Just ask is what this point. Like,
totally right. And I feel like I think, you know, when you're being annoying and when you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, when you're asking, you should know by this point in life. When you're asking questions that are dumb questions, and when you're asking questions that are legit, serious questions that you need answers for that you can't figure out. What advice do you have for youngsters, male, female, that want to get into the industry?
Just be, like, as motivated as you can. Don't stop trying.
Like, just persistence, eh?
Extremely persistent, you know, especially even if there's going to be a company you apply at every single day that's going to tell you to F off, like, it's into me. But yeah, you just got to, like, you really have to be persistent. You really have to want it. Like, you really have to really want it to get into it and to succeed.
I always say, and I'll say it every time I get on a podcast, is like, do the thing that gets you through the door.
Exactly. That's so true. Because and I was the same way. So I can't even say, because at first you're thinking that there's going to be so many opportunities for you. And I thought there was going to be as well, like getting out of school and everybody, oh, you're a female, you're going to get a job. It's going to be no problem. I think it was the opposite personally, but, like, yeah, it's just, you really have to, keep applying and going. Like,
has there been anybody that's been a real mentor to you?
My foreman that I was talking about, he really, really helped me kind of push through it, because there was so many times, like how you're saying, when am I going to work for distro? Am I going to do this? When I got into transmissions, thinking, like, can I do this? Or can I really do this? And he was so supportive about it. You know, like, a couple times I was really starting to kind of, you know, struggle with my mental health or just doubt myself. And he really would be like, you can do this. Like, you'd say, like, you know, you're the young woman that a lot of young women will look up to, and you need to keep doing this. So he really, really helped. When you think of a female in the trade, you don't picture them as being, like, you know, too feminine. I think I even heard Mackenzie say something like this before too, which is so true. Like, you know, I would like to show other young girls that you can be in the trade and you can still be a woman. You know, like, I get my nails done. I get, you know, like, I'm still really feminine, and I'm still in the trade. You know, yeah, my hands might be calloused as hell, but like, you know, you can still look like a woman and still be in the trade, right?
It's amazing. It's amazing the views that you get sometimes, right?
Yeah,
this job. It's like, great. I have a couple of friends right now that are in Istanbul, and I've just been following their stories. So they're working for Ascent Helicopters. You probably heard of Ascent, Canadian-based company. Ascent working in Istanbul right now, and they just got to go and change. I believe they're, like, changing spacer dampers or doing some work. But anyway, they're in a spacer cart on the crossing between Europe and Asia, because Istanbul is right like Istanbul's on the border, right? Part of it is, half of it's in Asia and half of it's in Europe. And they're literally crossing the strait and crossing continents in a spacer cart. And the view is epic, and they're flying around in helicopters and just like filming it. And it's so wild. Just like pinch yourself sometimes. Like, I'm just a lineman here. And I'm like,
that's the kind of stuff in transmission. I feel like sometimes you're like, this is wild. I can't believe I get to do this. Like, we did some job was all the towers were right on the beach on Lake Ontario. And that was like so cool too. Just every day, like watching the sunrise on the beach, going up the tower, like just so nice.
All right. I got a little bit of a fun thing I've been doing lately, changing up a little bit. It's called Finish My Sentence. So it's just a handful of questions that are just like, I'll give you the sentence and you just finish it however you feel fit.
Okay.
So if I wasn't the lineman, I'd be what? What's the dream job? If this isn't it, if this doesn't exist.
Trying to think. What else would I do?
It's really
okay. I'd probably be doing another trade, honestly. Yeah, iron worker, because that's what I was gonna do before.
That's dope. I actually I just posted it on my Instagram. Joe Rogan was he was interviewing somebody, and he just had this video up on his screen. He was commenting on this iron worker just like scaling this steel of this building, no harness, no nothing. Must have been different country, obviously. And I was just like, holy cow, look at that. Like, it's crazy, man. Yeah. Ironworks, that's next level for sure. If I won $10 million, the first thing I would buy would be what?
A lot of plane tickets.
Yeah. Travel, that's what you want to do?
Travel, for sure.
Well, you should do it with this job.
I know, I should.
You got that golden ticket now.
I know, there's all the opportunities in the world now. So
those friends of mine that are in Istanbul, they're actually from BC. There are, there's 3 or 4 of them working with the crews out there. They're all from BC. It's cool. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? Don't say Halifax.
It's definitely not Halifax. Yeah. Spain.
Nice. Barcelona.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a great choice, actually. What's the most valuable tool in a lineman's kit?
Crescent wrench.
Crescent wrench.
It's also a hammer.
Yeah, that's true. I love how companies just finally started building them stronger. Like,
yeah.
It's like, the packaging was like, don't use this as a hammer. And then finally, fuck it. Let's make hammers on.
Yeah. This is bags for it.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen on the job?
Actually, recently, I wasn't working on this, but the guys I work with just showed me this video. They were cutting down some old pole the other day. When they pushed it over, it turned to dust on the ground. Just thing.
Dude, that's the nightmare right there.
Right?
That's what nightmares are made of for linemen.
Yeah.
That's why test your poles. Test it. Drive.
Yeah.
Hit it with a hammer. Drive a screwdriver into it. Test your freaking poles if you don't know.
Yeah. And other than that, probably the people swimming in the lake in -30 while I'm up the tower.
Were they White Walkers? I'm not sure that they were.
Yeah, they look like it.
Okay, best piece of advice you've ever received as a lineman. Fair.
Just got to do it.
Sweet. All right, if you're liking this content lately, please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, do all those things. It really helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people, and I appreciate it. Peace.